To start off with the introduction, every part of the world, irrespective of any country for that matter, is being addicted, has been a cause of many problems like alcohol, drug trafficking, and drug addiction. It's more than 190 million people all around the world, they do consume alcohol or drug in one form or the other, which has led to a lot of complex difficulties which is being faced by almost all the countries in the form of social, cultural, biological, geographical and economic aspects, and the same is in case of India too. The reason why people are getting into alcoholism is all about because of the old joint family system which has been absent today, lack of parental care, and the care in the modern families where nuclear families is being practicing, and parents do have very limited time to spend with your children, and there is a dilution of the religious and the moral values which has happened of late. Coming to the background of my study, there has been a wrong upbringing, there's a lot of indiscipline, and ethical learning is not being very emphasized and practiced. A lot of peer influence at this age, the adolescent age, is a reason for the problems which is emerging, and that is a westernization which has been propped in, and a lot of insufficient parental care. And this is why this is one of a problem which is one of a competitive weapon which we need to tackle. There's a lot of mismatch when it comes to education and the employment market. The higher productivity is what has been expected, and the average productivity of the employees has come down. The overall of expectation of the corporate is that the abilities of the individuals and the expectation of the companies are not unified. Come to the review of the literature. According to Marshall in the year 1991, alcohol has been consumed over the years because of the influence of the Western life. As per Rome et al., it says that the influence of alcohol has been influenced by the climatic conditions, which is not applicable to almost all the states in the country. And the other factors are the urbanization, the change in the gender and the age roles, the peer influence, the intensity of the mass marketing and the promotion of alcohol beverages, which is been by multinational companies and others too. The other reason which has been quoted by one of the tourism and economic affairs, which says that the communal and the ceremonial purposes has become a reason for the consumption. Moving on to, according to WHO, a lot of injuries and violence which has been because of alcohol consumption, and the death rate also has increased because of the same. And because of alcohol consumption, it leads to a lot of coronary heart diseases, and it also leads to an anti-depression in the psychology of the individuals. The world's population reports that India has 356 billion people between the age group of 15 to 34. A global study says that alcohol consumption has risen in India by 55% over the 20 years. And 30% of Indians, they consume alcohol, out of which 4 to 13% are regular consumers. And 50% of these fall under the category of hazardous drinking. And it's not only it's male, but also even girls have caught up, and over the past 10 years there's been a drastic increase. The loss of productivity when it comes to the organization is to the extent of 1%, which has also a negative impact on the GDP too. Now, what is the perception of the non-drinkers? Why the people actually consume is that one is the socialization process, which has been emphasized as one of the reasons, and secondly, to come out of the depression and just to have a elevated feeling, and nextly, the rebel with the family members is one of a reason, and many times to fit into a peer group is the reason why people consume alcohol. Now, the ground research says that persons with alcoholism addicted are those who are excessive drinkers, who have heavy dependence on the alcohol, which has attained a high degree and noticeable. There's a mental disturbance. It is not only physical but also mental disturbance, and also it leads to deterioration in the interpersonal relationship and smooth functioning of the social too. Now, what's the statement of the problem? The dilemma arises where the victimization of the alcohol flourishes due to the various factors, but not sanctioned by the society. It is what they develop by themselves as a habit. And the consumption of alcohol has been escalated over the years as to enhance the style of living among the class of the youth, and also to become acceptable in the peer group. And it is very essential that we need to address this issue when we are speaking about demography as a dividend. This one of an element which can lead to a demographic as a disaster. So there is a need at this hour to see that we drive our young population towards a right direction. So we need to address this issue, which is a need of the hour.
Ma'am, shall we go to objectives?
Yeah, sure. Coming to research objectives, trying to find out the present situation of young people being addicted to alcohol in India and in other countries, and what are the factors that influences for them to become alcoholists, and the consequences, and finally the recommendations. The research methodology, the survey method was being administered. Structured questionnaires were prepared, and there was sampling design, and the statistical tool, a simple average method, is being used. Coming to the first objective, to discover the present situation of young population being addicted of alcohol in India and in case of other countries. I've just taken two countries, one is China and United States. It says that 86.8% of people ages 18 older drank alcohol at some point of their lifetime. About 88,000 people have alcohol-related causes which they die annually, and alcohol contributes almost 200 diseases and injury related to the health. 51% of them has been bearing the burden of disease and injuries worldwide. More than 10% of the people of US children live in the parent with alcohol problems, and in 2012, 3.3 million deaths, or 5.9% of global specifies that there is alcohol consumption. Coming to China, it is no different from that of US. China, in case of China, the people drink alcohol consumption, that's almost 50% of it, and 42% of men and 71% of women, as per the records by World Health Organization. And the alcohol, which contributes to more than 3 lakh deaths over the years in a country, and there has been a drastic jump in the consumption of alcohol over the years. The second is about the factors influencing consumption of alcohol. It is a survey which is being done, and it's felt that many times people are influenced by the peer group. It could be because of some psychological problem what they have. They feel that alcohol can bring them out of the depression. That is one of the reasons why they consume alcohol. Majority of the respondents said that 65% of them are drinking, which irrespective of whichever class they belong to. And the major chunk of their earnings has been spent on the alcohol consumption. And it's more, when it was questioned, 62% of respondents felt they did feel that they drink more than 3 times a month. And when it comes to corporate working, they wait away for a weekend. It's not that they are alcoholics by nature, but the level of third one. The consequences has been drastic. It has an impact on their health issues and also on the psychology of an individual, which leads to implication on the country too. And the various recommendations is a proper education, a mass communication which is supposed to be given. Nevertheless, everybody is aware that they should not consume, but nevertheless, they are into a practice of it. Education, and make them familiarize about the impact of it. Probably when you state the statistics about the impact of it, they might come out of it. They need to be self-disciplined, and this is what is expected, but to what extent it can be followed is all depends upon the mental state of a mind of an individual. A self-analysis has to be done by an individual, that's at the individual level as such. And behavioral therapies techniques are being utilized. Maybe probably if you are already got addicted to it, there is a alternative where you can as well get yourself rehabilitated. So the mental state of mind of a person to come out of it is very much essential. And there are substitutes for a genuine pleasure. Try to make a person who is alcoholic to move into a different direction, and ultimately a spiritual counseling, which is very much essential. So it is very much a need of the hour, and a lot of NGOs are working on it, wherein they want to see that the young population do come out of this habit. And there's a lot of research which is supposed to be done. A 360-degree appraisal, 360-degree approach is required for us to come out of this, where the young population has to be brought into the purview of having a right, moving in a right direction, and a lot of help is supposed to be done in that. Thank you very much.
An excellent approach towards dealing with the topic. I have a few observations to be made. First objective, here what I get to read is the present situation of young population being addicted of alcohol in India and in other countries. You have beautifully given the statistics of China and US, but what about Indian market?
Probably in the paper, probably the presentation I've not done.
Because see, when you give your findings, if you're making a comparative study, it will be India versus other countries.
Sure, I'll look into it.
And secondly,
Yes, ma'am.
your topic says it is an empirical study. Uh, what is your sample size?
My sample size was 30 people, wherein I took only the corporates for working for multinational companies.
Ma'am, corporates I think are in the age group of say 25 onwards.
Yes.
And
22 onwards. Some of them
okay,
just
22 onwards. But all your findings relate, or there's one slide which you have on perception of drinkers
Yes.
and the general research, which you have spoken much of the points relating to the college going students. And so there is a little gap in this.
Sure, sure. I'll totally
And
look into
what
it.
I personally feel is it's a wonderful topic to deal with. Just segregate
Sure. Right.
which is your population
Yep.
and how you go into it.
Okay.
And I think it can be dealt into different segments.
Segments. Right, ma'am. Yes.
And how you managed to get the data of China and US?
No, that was from the secondary data what I've collected from
Okay.
the net. The empirical was done in the corporates.
Okay.
Yeah, but only for the comparison part of it, I've not got the details from China and US. From the secondary research is where I've got the details.
Okay.
I'll surely work on it. Thank you
Good.
so much. Thank you.